And we
There
are
it is.
live.
Hey.
We are live. Look what I have there. So as our friends come on, no one, little eyeball hasn't come up. A little eyeball will come up the top, letting us know. And you know how this works. You'll be able to see your comments. But if you have another device, you can type or you can just like verbally. And I'm going to be taping this actually as a podcast episode.
Okay.
I didn't get started yet. So as friends, so as you come on, friends, raise your hand or tell us who you are. There we go. Look at all our friends there.
Coming on.
Oh my gosh. Wait, I'm trying to get my volume and everything going.
There's Cynthia and Sarah, Michelle, Lisette.
The gang's all here. Hello, Cynthia. Hola, ¿cómo está? Hey, Sarah, Michelle, New England Betty Boop, who was Lizette. I just feel like I just talked to you, Lizette. Dresden Avenue, who is Margaret. Hello, friends. Hello. Today I have my good friend Wendy Span. I'm just getting used to using my banners and all this great stuff. You see my logo up the top there.
Yes.
And I'm getting used to the StreamYard thing. I have some other things coming on. Wendy and I have been talking about that. So it's exciting, right, Wendy? So
Yeah.
in the next couple of weeks, I'll be talking about that. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the end. But I want to introduce you to my good friend Wendy. She's been on here before. And I think this is the first time she's been by herself. Not do I think, I do know.
Yes.
She was here with the Crafters group and she was in here with the Over 50 group.
Yes.
But today I want everyone to know her individually as Wendy Span, Salt Creek style. And she is a Renaissance woman just like me. We and we're over 50 ladies. And look how good we look. I even put on earrings because, my girl Wendy. And before we got started, I had the pleasure of sitting down and talking to her husband, Curtis. He's as handsome and as nice as he appears. I mean, he would have to be with Wendy because she's awesome. And everybody, Wendy is awesome. Raise your hand. So Wendy, I'm going to have you introduce yourself. Now, this is what I want you to do. This is technically the reselling community. That's where a lot of the people who know me and probably know you, but I want you to introduce yourself in a way, like if people didn't know who you were, tell maybe one or two fun facts about who you are as a private person.
Okay. My name is Wendy Span, and I live in Bella Vista, Arkansas, which is the northwest corner of the state, God's country. I'm just saying. And I am married to the love of my life. We've been married 25 years. We have a son. He's 23, and his name is Caleb. And we like the great outdoors. We like to camp. We have a camper. I'm not talking tent camping. I am not doing that. So I'm too old for that. But anyway.
I heard that.
Yeah. I am 53. And we do like to boat and jet ski and camp and do things like that. And it's a good thing because, during a pandemic, what else you going to do? Yeah. I love to sew. As you know, I taught myself how to sew with the help of YouTube and a lot of reading of it, user manuals, that kind of thing. I did that. And I'm enjoying making things for my Etsy store and for myself and for other people.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. So Wendy and I, we talk all the time. Wendy really is a good friend of mine. So I told Wendy when we backstage, I guess that's what we call it here, before we go live. And her husband, Curtis, was actually sitting next to her. He didn't just peek his head in. He sat down with us for about 12 minutes because it was like 3 minutes to the clock ran down before when he got up. And so I was saying to them, I want to try to get through this without crying. Like, I have really great friends, and it's such an amazing thing if you use this social media correctly. That's what it's about. You're supposed to be social, not talking about people and causing drama and things like that. But there may be some beautiful people who drop into your life unexpectedly and change it dramatically, and so many people like see me and they get excited and everything like that. And I do appreciate that, but it's so more humbling when I get to meet people like one-on-one and actually spend time with them. And it's like, out of a lot of the friends, Wendy still is a person I haven't met face to face. And so I can't wait until we could have that coffee and break bread together and just talk about the wonderful things. My allergies are kicking my butt because I don't always talk about it, but the wonderful things that God has done from here to there or from there to here.
Yeah.
So it's such an incredible life. And just meeting Wendy has been one of the most awesome experiences of my life. She's like a shoulder to cry on virtually.
Yeah.
And, because I reached out to her a couple days ago and was talking to her about some things I want to do for my business. And she helped me a lot with the ebook. For people who don't know, like I sent it to her and she was like honest, like, look, you need to fix this, you need to fix that. And when I start thinking about some of the things I want to do in my life, business wise, I just reached out to Wendy. Now, Wendy, who taught herself how to sew, for people who didn't hear that, she taught herself how to sew in her 50s, where she could have easily said, you know what, this machine and I aren't getting along. But she worked her way through it. And not only is she doing that, but she's like making her own clothes. Like her husband, Curtis, was just like, she's taking like some 2 sweatshirts and making a dress, like that's very creative. Like a person who's like maybe the big fashion designer may blink an eye at that. But for like normal people, that is extraordinary is what it is. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there that Wendy to me is just like an awesome person. So I want to get through here and not cry because I love talking about it. Like, I don't know how she feels about that because it's certain people who really come into my life. Like my good friend Lizette is the same way. I just told her, just like, if you want to talk to me because I need the same thing that you need. Don't look at me as being Leslie, a reseller's passion. Look at me as Leslie being a person who has blood, sweat, tears, just like everyone else, and who struggles. And, I need the same thing that you need. So if you need it, I can give it to you and vice versa. And I always say not to, make myself bigger than I am. But if you want to hang with me, because by the time you get our age, Wendy, we don't have time for nonsense, right? We really have to be particular. Yeah. So if you want to hang, and so it's different when you're growing up and you're taking care of your parents and you're doing whatever, you don't really build relationships, but this is the time in our life that we really need it. And I don't have time for mess. I don't. So the reselling community and all that. And I'm gonna tell you a quick story. I don't know if the person's on here, if they're not. So I went to Jomar last week and I met XO Rachel. Now, I didn't know Rachel's involvement in Jomar, but come to find out she's a partner in Jomar. So she flies in every 6 weeks, and she's the person who releases like our affiliate checks and does like, she does all this really great stuff. Man, and it's because Jessica, who is the manager, was telling me if it wasn't for Rachel, they probably would have closed down. That she helped them so much. Like if you could see the warehouse, like I didn't want to be rude and just be walking through because there was workers back there too. So I was trying to pan and not be like in their area, but every section there was someone. So that's why I just did the little bit that I did. But Rachel actually took time and we like talked. And Jessica had called me a few weeks ago because we were talking about something because I'm a local girl. And so it was so cool talking to them. And I didn't know Rachel like that. I'm like really particular when it comes to people I follow, just because some people aren't attainable. Like I'm attainable. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Not in a mean way. I didn't know her. And sometimes I look at people's numbers and go like, okay, well, you got 80,000 followers, but you only follow 50. Yeah. That right there means we're not going to build a relationship, right? That's so right. She and I happened to post something about a Jomar or something, and she sent me a DM and she says, oh my God, Leslie, you're doing amazing. And I'm like, hey, Rachel. And she says, just in case you don't know it, 50% of the time I'm the person from Jomar commenting. Bam.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
So you be careful, like how you talk or whatever. And so I went there. She literally gave a tour, and they were actually it was last minute. She had even asked me if I knew any local people, and she couldn't get everybody together because it was so last minute. So next time she comes back, we're supposed to do something because they were like, okay, now we're going to go eat, and it's on Jomar. But it was far. It was in the city, and we had already hit traffic going.
Yeah.
And we didn't get there till 3:15. They closed at 4. I mean, literally everybody stopped and they went out the door. And so that was, so we got, I mean, literally she went and changed her clothes and she came out and talked to Tom and she's like, you coming? I said, you know what? I'm gonna head home because my allergies and my asthma were getting to me. And I was like, you know, I'm gonna go home. She says, you know what? I'll be back in 6 weeks. Next time I'll give you plenty of time. You can come like 1 o'clock in the afternoon if you want, you know, because we did everything. Like we did the whole process. We sorted. She showed us how to sort and how they send stuff out and everything. And we did that in 45 minutes. But I'm saying that because then another person sent me a message and said, well, oh, you met Rachel. How was that? I was like, just like anybody else.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, because I heard some negative stuff. And I was like, whoa, let me tell you something right now.
Mm-hmm.
I go by my heart. I don't look at what other people say. Never, ever. I never even heard anything negative because I had never talked to her previous to that. I don't go through people's feed and I have no idea what happened the weekend before because that's not how I look at people. I look at people from my heart and my perspective. I don't care if 30 people say that they're garbage or whatever. I want to make the decision on my own. So that bothered me when that happened. Mm-hmm. So I don't like that at all. I think everyone should be judged individually. And then also, not everybody's for everybody. You know, you can watch from afar. The thing with this community, what I want everybody to know, if you stop fanning people and stop giving them celebrity status, then they'll just be regular people. My numbers don't define who I am. For the rest of my life, I'll be Leslie, daughter to Brenda and Craig, stepping out with humility that God has given me every single day. And if you look at me from that perspective, from the fun that I'm having, then that's how it is. I don't want you to look at me and go, oh, you're that person. Nope. Do not glorify me. That's why the people are the way they are, is because you give it to them. I learned that at Posh Fest, where I would get there and they look at me. And as soon as I got the look, I was out. I didn't shake hand. I didn't say hello. And then they turn around and I got 20 people trying to talk to me. And then finally they're like, oh, I got a lot of that. But don't do it. So stop celebrity. If they have over 10,000 followers and they only have 3, they're only following a little bit of people, don't follow them. Just peek in. Peek in.
I agree. I don't have time for that.
Yeah, I went off on a thing, but it's just like, you know, because even today somebody was doing something and I comment back. It's different if you can't do it all the time, but I try to take a couple minutes every single day and just comment because it's really important. You want to engage your community. That's how you grow. You want to know how I grow? I can tell you how I grow. Anyway, so we're here with Wendy because I went off. Sometimes your heart goes where it goes, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So it says, I'm going to go back here and say hello to everybody first.
Okay.
So Lizette saw that it was awesome. Cynthia says, wow. Lizette says, never judge. I always base on my own experiences. That is really important because I have friends who this community has treated so bad, but they don't even know who they are. And I've spent personal time with them. So hello. Terry says, I agree with that. I never follow people that hardly follow people. I started with it a long time. I'll enjoy their videos. There's people I've been watching from the beginning who taught me a lot. And I met them at Posh Fest again. I even went like, hey, how you doing? I love your videos. Walk away. Seriously, I did that. And I'm not even going to name people. I did that because I could see, like, I would just sit there and go, okay, let me see. I mean, really, the people, everybody was cool. But the 2 people who just was like so chill the whole weekend was Jack and Ryan. When I say these 2 kids was the most, just like I spent a lot of time with them the day before. I had breakfast with them.
Yeah,
they were just like, oh, because they were like, Leslie, oh my gosh, we're like freaking out over here. And I was like, wow, they did a recording for my daughter. It was just, it was a beautiful thing. Yes, because she sent me a message, Mom, oh my gosh, that's Ryan and Jack. And I'm like, okay, I met them yesterday. That's what I said. I was like, I don't know who they are. And he was like, oh, and so when I sat down, I went into the room and they were by themselves. They were like, Leslie, we're overwhelmed. I said, I could totally understand that. They were in this whole big room, just the 2 of them, while everybody else. And I said, that's why I'm here, because it's just too much going on. And I sat down with them and started talking. I'm saying, guys, can you do me a favor and just record something to my daughter? She's peach boo too. They were like, oh, wait a minute, let's find her first. Oh my gosh, she's beautiful. Look at her hair, you know. And they sent this recording and she about freaked out. She said, like, oh my gosh, Mom. And I'm just like, okay, they're just 2 kids to me. You know?
It's like, who are they? My daughter's so crazy about.
You know? So it says, what she say? So Margaret says, I love that about you, Leslie. You have no time. I don't have time for gossip. Like, I don't, if you have time for gossip, how are you running your business? You know?
Right. And I just want to say to the people that immediately say something negative about someone else, I just want to say, please don't try to tell me how to feel about someone, you know, because that's not fair.
Yeah.
That's not fair. You might have had a bad experience with them.
Exactly.
They might have been having a terrible day.
Exactly. Or it could have been you.
Yeah, exactly.
See, Thomas and I were just having this conversation, and I think I posted about this a couple weeks ago. Like, there is no perfect person.
No.
There is no perfect person.
One, that's it.
Right. But perfection is, for me, that first day when you see your baby for the first time.
Yes.
That's perfection. And they put your baby on your chest.
Yes.
They don't know you. They haven't been experiencing anything. And that is the most glorified feeling ever. I experienced that 5 times.
I know.
But then they grow up.
What a blessing. Like they're supposed to. I hate keep telling myself that. They're supposed to grow up.
Yes.
Hey, they're supposed to grow up.
I know, Wendy. I know. Okay, it says, yes, people are people. They're the same as you, me.
That's right.
My philosophy, and then I'll let Wendy talk. My philosophy, you know, as we're growing older, we're watching these TV programs and things like that. But I learned just from life's experience. We all are born, we all live, and we all die. When I knew that people leave here and we all leave here, maybe not at the same speed, then that was a game changer for me. And that was when I was young, though, when I was like my granddaughter's age. My granddaughter's 7. When you're like, wow, they leave. So no one, regardless, you know, the queen may come from a place that they say she's the queen. Mm-hmm. You know, we've got the president, we've got whoever with the titles. But if you just look at this person as a woman and a man, that's it. I used to be like that when I would go to work. My coworkers, I call them coworkers, even though I may have been their superior at one time, I would say we work for the same place. We just have different job titles. So if we treat each other the same, then it won't make a difference. Now, how I treat you is going to be different than how you treat me. But then it's what I accept also, you know. So if we just come from the philosophy that everyone is a person, and stop glorifying people. See, I don't fan people. The only person that I ever had a poster on my wall when I was growing up was Michael Jackson.
Well,
I don't buy clothes with people's names on it and stuff like that. And if I do, a lot, like my Nikes I had on, I got Nike was having a sale.
Those were
probably $22 for a $90 pair. You know, so I try not to do that, but I don't wear, you know, you may see me with something that I've gotten to bleach or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so what was that saying? They have so many followers, it's impossible for them to follow everyone back. Just my opinion, their numbers to intimidate me all. Well, no, this is the thing. So if you look at my numbers, because what I used to do in the beginning is try to follow everyone who followed me. One of the reasons why I don't do that is because some people are being mean and stuff, you know, or some people are just spammers. So they follow you because they have these businesses or whatever. And then they follow me. That still happens to me now. They follow me and then I get a DM by my program or whatever. But Instagram allows you to follow 7,500. So if nothing else, like with me, I have 20,000. I should still be getting up to that 7,500. Mm-hmm. So I go in and I try to chat with people now who are interested in coming back at me. I don't want to follow people who are going to unfollow me. People do that all the time. I used to have an unfollow app where I would look at it and then every day it would show that I sat and probably followed 100 people. And then by the end of the day, 50 of those people unfollowed me. So that I have a specific logic to it. But unfortunately, Instagram only allows you to follow 7,500. Because I've had people, if you ever noticed that, people will say, I follow that person. Nope, they have 7,499 and it still won't even let them follow that last person. But that's why I don't believe that to be true. And then also, even if you do have that many followers, you should still be engaging every single day with everyone. And especially if people, you should know, that's just how I know how all you ladies are. The people who are talking to me every single day, there may be a good 400 people that I may know really well because they're showing up every single day.
Yeah.
So that's really that really is what it is. It has nothing to do. They just want, and it was somebody today I went and looked at them. They had 78,000 followers. They're only following 52 people. I was like, yeah, not today, sis.
I don't have time for that. And I'll tell you, everyone that follows me, I click on their profile and I go and I look.
Yes.
And if I'll be real honest with
you. No, that's the truth.
I see a lot of skin, or if I see a lot of profanity, I don't follow that because I don't care to see that on my feed.
I'm the same way, and I'm really particular about language too, because I don't use profanity in my regular life.
Me either.
I tell my children, your teachers, you go in the classroom, your teacher is not cussing. I don't use profanity.
No, I don't either.
If I stump my foot or something, I would. But in my house, we don't have that kind of conversation.
Yep.
I'm not around my girlfriends like that. It bothers me. Like when Thomas gets with him and his brothers used to talking, but I'm not. My father says that people who speak profanity are ignorant. They can't find another word to
that's my thing, is that how small is your vocabulary if you have to drop an F-bomb every sentence?
That's everybody. I mean, everybody has their own way, but if you've ever been around me, you've never heard me use sugar, honey, iced tea. You've never heard me use anything. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I don't think it's really nice. And then I get the thing where people do it like when you're a certain color, they think all of a sudden because you're black that's they start talking to you, and I'm like, sis,
really?
Oh my God. It's
I didn't know that. I've never thought that.
You grew up in the city. I'm like, I grew up in the city, but my mother was an English major. There was no Ebonics spoken in our house. You had to speak the way she taught you to speak. All my children sound that way. There should not be a conversation where, I just talked to a black girl today. Like, really? So Wendy, let's talk. So,
okay.
I brought Wendy on. I didn't advertise it at that because I want Wendy to know. I brought her on so that we can have a conversation. I kind of went on a thing. I apologize for everybody. Oh, this is going to be on the podcast too because I'm not editing. But I brought her on because she was having this beautiful conversation with Margaret about like some of the things that Margaret can do with her little boy. Margaret, what is your son's name? Especially to get him to sit still and some different things about IP. And I was like, that would be such a wonderful conversation to bring Wendy on. Sorry. Wendy was a little hesitant. With me, she should never be hesitant about now what it is that Leslie's going to talk about. You know what? I gotta turn my fan on because I'm having a menopause moment.
Girl, my fan's on all the time because I'm always hot flashing power.
I usually have it on. It's the kind I can just flick around. And so Wendy is going to tell you what she used to do. And after she talks about that, I'm going to ask her just a couple questions, and then we'll talk about a couple other things for the rest of our time.
I worked for early childhood special ed in our educational co-op in a town close to where we live. We covered 17 school districts in Arkansas, in that part of Arkansas. And I did developmental assessments on 3 to 5 year olds. And what I did is I just did a screening type assessment on the children that were in our hippie program and also in pre-Ks. So I did both. And if they didn't pass and I hate those words, pass or fail, but if they qualified, if they didn't, reach the score that they needed to with my assessment, then I referred them on to early childhood special ed for in-depth testing with either speech therapist or behavior specialist or any of those type specialists when, there was an issue. And I had my degree is in psychology and child development, and then I'm certified in autism. So it was important for me to kind of know the signs of autism. I'm obviously not a doctor or a specialist in that area, but the thing was for me to recognize the signs so that I can help, because typically if I'm screening or assessing a 3-year-old, a lot of times they had not been identified yet if they show signs of being on the spectrum. So it was important for me to know what I was looking at.
Yeah.
And I did run across about 3 to 5 people, 3 to 5 children a year, maybe, that might be somewhere on the spectrum. And so I was able to get them into services and get them tested with the test that they do actually for autism.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good. And I've worked with 3 to 5 year olds for 7 years.
Nice.
Love them. I love that age group.
Yeah.
They crack me up. They're so funny and so much fun. I love
it. That's such a beautiful age. I remember it well. Even amongst your own children, and then as your children get older and you go to, when I first started working in Delaware, my first job, I was actually still going from Philly to Delaware before I moved here. And it was at a daycare center. And I would go in there and go, oh my gosh, look how young and beautiful you are. I go home to my teenagers and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get back to work with my dad.
They were so sweet back then. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But then I would go, oh, I'm so glad I'm home because these little kids, you got to take them. Like, it's like, I used to be the cook, but I went to school. They paid for me to go to school to get credits to work and be a substitute and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm home with the big kids now.
And at that age, they're very needy. You can't turn them loose anywhere. It's not something you need to do. So
you can't turn your back. So let's talk about this. No, totally what you did was really great. And we're going to talk more from the parent perspective because we have parents who are home right now. And man, are they feeling it?
Yes.
Are you feeling it, Margaret, with Devin? Are you feeling it? And so that's such a great name. My nephew is Devin.
Yeah.
But so what Wendy could bring maybe some suggestions. So you and I were talking, I sent you some questions or some things that I may talk to you about. You were, giving parents information then. Now we have a different situation. So imagine if then was now, right? And we're doing everything virtual.
Yes.
And so the first question would be, what would you possibly suggest for a parent who may think that their child is having some developmental delays? Not necessarily your program, but what could you possibly suggest? Maybe something like the program that you worked at, or there could be some other services available.
What I would do if I was looking for help, if I was at home with a child that I suspected may have some delays, the first thing, especially if they're 3 to 5 years old, if they're not quite in school yet, because most of the time, by the time they have gotten into elementary school, they've been identified. They've been identified and placed in services that are appropriate for them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've got a little one and you're thinking, okay, I'm seeing some things that I don't think are quite right, the best thing you can do is call your school district, talk to someone in the preschool program, if your school district has a preschool program, and ask them how you can get your child assessed and screened for possible developmental delays. And the CDC recommends that everyone have their child have a developmental assessment at the age of 4. Mm-hmm. So it's just a good idea to have it done anyway,
So why do they, because I do know why, because I'll probably share my story a little bit later, but why do you think they suggest at that particular age?
Because that's when delays start. I mean, that's when you start
seeing it.
Yeah. And you can identify a child on the spectrum as early as 2. Mm-hmm. I mean, because a lot of the things like they don't make eye contact, if your child doesn't respond to his or her own name, they kind of seem to be in their own world and they're not talking. There's a lot of cues that, that parents can pick up on. If your child is 2.5 or 3 and they're not talking yet, please call someone and just get an evaluation done. Just get an assessment, get a screening.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Instead of waiting until later, I'll share now. My daughter Stephanie, who will be 23 in December, has oh my gosh, Asperger's. She's high functioning. And then they go back and forth, over the years. It's a spectrum, but then it's not the spectrum. Now it is the spectrum.
Yeah.
Before it wasn't called the spectrum, it was were called something else, which not nice things. And thankfully we have these programs in place where we're letting people use the correct verbiage, because they used to call these kids some things like my daughter when she was 3 years old, she used to dance. All the girls danced. Mm-hmm. And she, the lady at the dance school said that she had Down syndrome, but she didn't call her that. She didn't say Down syndrome. She called her something else. I don't know the word.
Mongoloid.
A mongoloid. And you talk about somebody who's about to snatch. Oh, seriously.
I would have.
That's what she said about my Stephanie. And I was like,
oh, no, you didn't. That's what I said. Oh, no, you didn't.
I said to my ex-husband, you're going to have to go get the girl. And like, if Casey really didn't like it and wasn't getting a scholarship, she was the oldest of the one. She was dancing by the time she was 10 with the 18-year-olds. And so I got a discount when all the girls, so all 4 of my girls were dancing at one time. But when she said that to me, girl, and just like Wendy said, you can identify early. But this is also the thing. I can talk from a space when you have multiple children, right? There could be different situations going on. You have multiple children. You are so stressed. You got so much going on that you miss things.
Right.
Because my child is she's just quiet. You know, that could be your perspective, right? She's just quiet. She's really good because it's this one over here that I got to deal with the most. You know, like in any situation, the squeaky wheel gets that oil before anyone else. If this child is quiet and they're doing their thing, then you're going to focus on the ones who are a little bit more challenging or whatever the situation. Yeah, I had 2 children who were tested as gifted. And so that's a whole nother thing.
It is. That's special things too. Just different level.
A whole different kind of thing, you know, especially a mom who's in between. You know, it's like, listen, you got your math today? Good at third grade. You know, because not only are they in a regular classroom, they're going to gifted programs. I mean, I've been to every ballet, every program they think a gifted child would be interested in. My son Craig was like, Mom, why are we at the ballet? I'm like, this is your program. Take us to see fight. No, it wasn't the ballet. It was operetta, Romeo and Juliet. They sing opera, the whole thing. And Craig was like, Mom, can we go? I'm like, we got to go with the bus. This is school. You know? So that's my, but like, so when Stephanie was young, I did know that some things were kind of going on. Now, the issue becomes with your own pediatrician as well.
Yes.
Right? Because then they're professionals and they have a whole different thing that they're looking at, right? And then so programs that Wendy worked at are really great because it's like more individual. Like you're going to your doctor, they're there all day long, and you come in and you say, listen, I think something's going on with my child, right? You already don't know. And this is like before Sonia, who was born with hydrocephalus. So that's a whole nother thing. But then so I've got Stephanie trying to figure out, and I'm talking to my doctor. The worst thing that your doctor can do is turn you away.
Right.
Or say that it's nothing, because we as parents take our doctor's word because they're the professionals. So, right. And then if they don't come up with a diagnosis, there's not a lot of programs like the Hippie program for you because it becomes expensive. They don't test for free after a certain age.
Right. And that's why I say go call your school, your public school district, because that is free, all of it. We, in the public school system will evaluate your child and do all of that at no cost. Now, I'm not knocking programs that are private that do take insurance and private pay and all that. Those are great too. But if you are not really able to pay for something like that, which most of us aren't just rolling in money all the time. So go to, call your school district and try to talk to the people in pre-K because they will know where to get your child assessed.
Yeah. And I think that's perfect. And I want to put up what Michelle put. My daughter was an only child at the moment, high functioning, took her to the doctor at 3 years old. Sounds familiar. And I was given a printed handout, how to put her in timeout. Sounds very familiar. Yes. And Michelle's daughter is 16. Am I correct, Michelle? And so it's hard for everyone. And so, yes. And so for her preschool and elementary years, it was quite the challenge because now you're trying to find programs. Like we did get like some free assessments. Temple, we lived in Philly, so Temple University, but they're looking for specific things because your child has gotten into a clinical trial or whatever. So they're not really interested in seeing what's going on because they just want to get the money and everything. So it was a challenge. Like technically, Stephanie did not get diagnosed until she was a sophomore in high school.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like a hard thing. Thankfully, she did have an IEP, but it wasn't until we moved here to Delaware 8 years ago that she was diagnosed. I mean, and it actually took a whole year. Like her first year as as a freshman, the school itself is going through transitioning. So her IEP went through the crack. And then after a couple of weeks, they started giving me calls and going, this is what's going on. I'm like, wait a minute, did you get the IEP? I keep everything. I still have all that stuff. You're talking about, I have all
do
of that stuff.
Yes, that's a good thing to do.
Yes. And this is the other thing, which I'll let Wendy speak to. If nothing else, from the day that your child is born, in addition to parent, you call yourself an advocate.
Yes.
You advocate on behalf of your child. You never listen to what the system is saying, and you don't take no until you hear the final no. And that's still never enough no's for me. So, yes. And so my last thing I want to add after I'm going to get to Wendy is, so when Stephanie was in 10th grade, she got her IEP. And they were fighting me on it. They were trying to do some stuff. They weren't allowing her extra testing time because she's never been in a special ed class. She's had an IEP that allows her time for testing and all that. I mean, she graduated high school with a 3.25, okay? And then went on to culinary school. She actually got into to Johnson & Wales. We couldn't afford that last $20,000 in scholarship. Whole nother story. But they were not, so I was going back and forth. I just happened to be a lunch lady at an elementary school, and I had become friends with the counselor at the elementary school. So I went to her and I said, listen, this high school is giving me a hard time. She says, well, what I'll do is I'll reach out to my friend. She just happens to be the director of the special ed program for the district. And I said, that would be great. Next thing I know, I'm getting an email and she's saying, okay, what's the situation? And I'm giving her all of this information. She's sending me paperwork. This is what you need to do. When you go to the IEP, this is what you need to present. Go to the IEP, who's sitting there but the director of special education, who come to advocate for me as a, and we left there with everything in addition to some other things for Stephanie. That's awesome. Stephanie was in a program. That program helped her go all the way through high school. They paid for her to go to culinary school and helped her get job placement. So you advocate for your children and it doesn't stop. Then you start teaching them how to advocate for themselves. Yes. Because once they turn 18, unless you have a whole lot of stuff written, I can still be, advocate. I'm at the bank. I help her with, all kinds of stuff. But for the most part, she can do her own thing. She don't even need to live with me. But my concern, she would never go outside. She would never be friends.
That she doesn't have to live with you. She can live on her own. I mean, that's huge. That's huge.
But and the other thing about that too is, as parents, I can only, as always, give you my experience with a little bit of my advice. Just because the system says your child is, you don't do that to them. I treated Stephanie the same as I treated everybody else, because Craig and Stacy, they were gifted students with IEPs. So IEP isn't just for a person who's having educational challenges, because that's just for the money for the programs. It's an individual education plan.
Right.
So Stephanie's education plan, and my oldest daughter, Tyra, who had an education plan as well. So that's for the services they need there. And then Craig and Stacy needed theirs, right? But I treated every single person in my house the same. Stephanie even told me the reason why she wanted to cook is because I cooked with them, that I taught them how to handle household. Stephanie is the only person of all my children who memorizes, because they have a list of stuff that they're supposed to do. It's only 2 girls left in the house. She still does her same chores the same way she would do them when Craig and everybody else was home. Craig would have dishes this day and Stephanie would have trash that day, and then when each child left, I doubled up. So you get up in the morning, she's running the vacuum cleaner and she's sweeping the floor. So that will be perfect when it's time for her to move. It just has to be a regimented thing. When she was going to work, it was regimented, and she's fine. Like that's actually with Asperger's, that's just social. Yeah. She'd rather be watching TV all day by herself than, she went away. My daughter Stacy lives up the street. You guys know Stacy. And she went to the apartment. Stacy and her boyfriend, her fiance, live in an apartment with 2 other people. Stephanie went, I think one night should have been enough, but she went 2 nights. She came home the next day in tears because it was too many people. She didn't have her own space.
Yeah.
So I said to Stacy, if she lived with you guys, she would have to just have her own room.
Yeah.
She'd come out for a little bit and then she can go back. But I don't have Asperger's and I'm that way. So, where I'm like, okay, I've had enough now.
Sometimes you have to decompress, be alone and just decompress from socialing.
So talk about how what's your feeling about advocating for your children?
I mean, as a parent, you know your child better than anyone, right? We do. We know our child's habits. We know their behaviors. We know what they like, what they don't like, what they want to do, what they're willing to do, what they won't do. We know all of those things about them. And one of the best things, if you're trying to homeschool or remote school your child right now, is observe how they function.
Yeah.
Then try your best to mold your teaching style or your helping style with them to what their needs are. If they're a child that has been identified as on the spectrum, or, really capitalize, because most of the time children that are on the spectrum have areas of high interest, right? So if you've got a 5-year-old little boy and he is obsessed with dinosaurs, then guess what? You need to use those dinosaurs to the best of your ability in order to get him to do his work.
Yeah.
And that means give him a task to do for 3 to 5 minutes to try to complete something, and then give him the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Set a timer. He gets to play with the dinosaurs for 5 minutes. When that timer goes off, the dinosaurs get put up and you do another task. And it can be painful to try and start things like that. But consistency is key. Eventually, what does it take? 22 times of doing anything to develop a habit of it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's not any different, trying to train a child in like time segments like that. And if there's anything that you hear me say, please hear this. If you have a small child, take the word don't out of your vocabulary. Never say it again. Because to a small child, that's a very unclear, ambiguous, very confusing word. Because if you've got a room, and this happened frequently when I was in pre-K, working in pre-K, you've got 20 kids lined up at the door and you're supposed to walk to the cafeteria on the sidewalk. The minute you say don't run, you got kids running.
Yeah,
all they heard was run.
Yep.
It's a developmental thing.
Yep.
That's all they heard. So the best thing you can do is get rid of that word.
Yeah.
And speak in positives instead of negatives. Instead of saying don't run, because they're going to run. Yeah. You say walk.
Yeah.
That's it. Walk. Use your walking feet to kids that are typically developing. But children who are atypically neurodeveloping, like kids on the spectrum, you want to use as few words as possible, because one of their issues are communication, right? So you're going to say walk. Yeah. Use 2 or 3 words at a time. Don't give them this big list of instructions or say, I really don't like for you to do that, because that's that you lost them after I really.
Yeah.
So it's good to say just 2 or 3 word commands, and then first show them how to do it. Children on the spectrum have sensory issues. They're very visual. Yeah. They think in pictures. They're very visual learners. If you can show them with something tangible that they can hold on to and see and manipulate, then they can do the same thing. Yeah. I had a little boy that I screened a few years ago, super high functioning. He was verbal. He was not identified as being on the spectrum. He was extremely bright. But when I got to the point in the screening where I said, okay, count for me, he looked at me and he said, count for me. Part of the echolalia is what is called the echoing. When I said, because it was an abstract thing that I asked him to do, and he didn't understand.
Wow.
He never made eye contact with me, but he, at the age of 4, he knew all of his letters and the sounds they made, and he knew all this. I mean, he was brilliant. And his mom told me when the screening was over, she smiled and she said, he's known his letters and all the sounds they make since he was 18 months old.
Wow.
That set off alarms in my head because I knew that's not developmentally appropriate.
Right.
And together with him not being able to count when I asked him to count, when I knew this child could count probably to 100. But when I asked him without showing him anything, he couldn't do it.
Wow.
And so he didn't make eye contact. He couldn't count for me. It little things like that. And I was like, this little boy, and he passed my screening because he scored so high.
Wow.
On so many things. But I couldn't go to the parent and say, I think your child's on the spectrum. You can't do that because I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose. But what I did is I spoke to the people in that area and said, please stay close to this family because he needs to be evaluated by someone besides me.
Wow.
2 years later, he was evaluated. He got the diagnosis, and he actually got a service dog to help him with anxiety.
Wow.
It was I've never been so relieved in my life to hear about someone getting the help they needed. So it's really important to, if you think there's anything off about your child's development, to get them evaluated.
I'm typing here. One of the things that Wendy said was really important, which I believe for any age, is if your child finds an interest in something, you need to just go with that. And don't be surprised if it changes. Okay. One thing with my daughter, she did dance, but that was because everybody else was dancing. So I, put her into dancing. But
doing that.
Yeah. So, and one thing that I loved about when she went off to high school, even though she was having some challenges with some of the other things that I talked about, she came home one day and said, Mom, I'm trying out for volleyball. That's what I played in high school. And so she played volleyball all the way through. And then that was in her freshman year. And then in her sophomore year, she says, Mom, I'm trying out for soccer. And Craig was playing soccer, and thankfully they got the same coach was the male and female coach. So in the fall was male, and so she knew him. He was the gym teacher, and that just was wonderful. So after school practices and games and stuff, but she had something, But it really is a challenge that we have to take our emotions out of it as parents as well. Because what's going to happen is when your children are young, that's a challenge in itself. So you are trying to figure out how to navigate from where they are when they're 3 to 5 and a little bit older. So now let's talk about when they start getting into middle school and high school, and you start seeing that they really don't even have a social group. I went on a bus trip one time. I think Stephanie was in 8th grade. One of those grades. Before we moved here, she started here her high school year in Delaware. But in Philly, we were going to the Harlem. We were doing a Harlem tour, New York. We were on the bus, and I realized, already knowing that she was having some challenges before she got diagnosed, right, and with her Asperger's. On the bus, she didn't have a single friend, and I literally silently cried to myself, like no one wanted to sit next to her, to talk to her. Nothing. Like she was so happy to have me there. I went on all those trips, but it was different when the other children went with me. They were like, Mom, can I sit back there? Because my friend is there. Like Stephanie had nothing. And so we then have to kind of take our emotions out of it and do the best we can with that. Yes, they have siblings. That was the best thing though, because Stephanie was one of 5 and her siblings are still close. So that is beautiful. And I even say to them now, listen, one day I won't be here. Stephanie can do a lot, but I need you to take care of her. That regardless of what in your life, you have to remember that, because our kid, they go off and get married, and then that spouse is like, yeah, you gave your mom, that sense and sensibility, like, yeah, I'll make the promise, and then after dad is gone, yeah, I'll just give you a little bit of coins and let you live in the cottage. So I'm like, she can take care of herself, but you're going to have to like help her, make sure, because even now it's that you're already preparing your girls for predators and all that. You got to double down on a person who's not really aware of everything in the world. So it's so much involved in just being a parent of a special needs child. We can only function at the level that they are. And then some days at night we think about the future, And
it's hard. It's what keeps us awake at night.
Yeah.
It's what keeps you awake. And I want to also speak to the parents who feel like there's an issue with their child, maybe their development, but they think, oh, I don't want my child to have a label. I don't want my child to think there's something wrong with them. I just want to say, don't let that stop you, because a label is just a name.
Yeah.
You cannot fix, solve, or treat a problem if you don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know what's going on, you can't help them.
Yeah.
And it's better to know what's going on. And I promise you, your child will be relieved to know there's something going on that's not their fault.
Yeah.
Right? They have meltdowns. Children who have meltdowns due to being on the spectrum, because just all the things that are going on with them, they don't like having meltdowns. It makes them feel horrible. They feel terrible afterwards. And I promise you, a child does not wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I'm going to wreck her day.
Exactly.
I'm going to set out to ruin her day. It doesn't happen. They are only being who they can be. You don't get mad at somebody for being diabetic, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you know what? We've got to pull out from the deepest part of us the most patient, kindness, the understanding, every bit of love that we can for kids that are having trouble behaving properly. It just needs to happen. And I was going to say another thing that you can do for a child that is on the spectrum or isn't talking and you may want to have evaluated is use pictures. Use a lot of pictures. You can print out a sign that says yes and one that says no, like a green and a red. And you can teach them to touch yes or no to answer if they don't have verbal skills. We need to post their schedule on the wall so they know, and pictures with words too. For instance, like lunchtime. That should be in there, and like a picture of a child eating or an apple or anything that you think of that you want your child to see that's on the wall that they'll understand. So they'll know they go from this activity to this activity to this activity, and they've got their routine and their schedule, and that works for them. They function really, really well that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing, like I just happen to see, there are a lot of comments. I do see everybody. For people who I haven't acknowledged, hey Quimby, hey Rosalind, hey Patricia, and if I missed anyone, Michelle, I love you, friend. But like one thing that's really important, also Victoria said, so important for parents and family involvement. And this was what I want to say about family. I love my family, I do, but the only family that matters to me 100% are the people who live behind my doors. I have never, once I became an adult, never lived to approve for my family to approve of me. If you don't pay my bills, you have no say. That's right. So you're going to have people who are going to be telling you things. You have to let that go. You have to be strong enough. This is your child. Regardless if you gave birth to that child or not, if you claim this person as your child, then you're responsible, you and your significant other. Yeah. If you're a single parent and you have a support that's really supporting you, then bring them in and you guys work together to figure out the best plan, right? Yes. But you cannot worry about what other people are saying. I have a daughter, Sonia, who has hydrocephalus. She has a shunt. She was diagnosed at 2 weeks old. And what is that echo coming from? And when she was diagnosed, every family member had something to say. No one knew what it was, but everyone had something to contribute on how I was supposed to take care of my daughter.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying? How I was supposed to, because the doctor said, or all the material said, oh yeah, she's going to be developmentally delayed. My cousin was very adamant about that. She's a social worker and she bought me a stack of stuff like this. She had gone and did all this research. I'm like, seriously, my daughter just had surgery 2 weeks ago. She was like 4 weeks old. Can you not? And I was like, I rebuke all that right now.
Yep.
And so she was 4 weeks old when we had that conversation. This girl is 18 years old in medical school. She's been for the last 3 weeks. She's taking classes. She's a medical school student. Okay. So you cannot let your parents be the voice for you. You cannot let your family be the voice for you. It weakens your defense when you do that. Okay. I want you to understand that. I'm not against you. I'm for you. And I would only always offer you advice. I've been there. Okay. If I let people tell me, because that's why one of the reasons when I saw the downfall of my marriage, when my ex-husband would not help me figure out how to find help for Stephanie. You know, yes, she has Asperger's. No, I'm a Christian. I don't believe that. I'm sorry. What does that have to do with anything?
What does that have to do with anything?
He's still Christian to this day, everything that he's doing.
Well, I'm a Christian too, but I know that we need help. When we need help, guess what? God made people really
exactly. Yeah,
help us.
That's exactly what it is. But that was the reason why. That was our whole kind of relationship. Wow. And you know, God brings things into your life. At the time we're going through things, it seems like it's more than we can handle. It really does. But all the things that come in our life are to strengthen us. You just put on the armor and you go into battle the best way you can. That's the only thing I can tell you. Like, I mean, that's all I can tell you. You know, I have 5. I have issues with, you know, but I've come through. When I was going through, I used to cry to be, when I look at Margaret and Michelle and the different people who are talking in the chat, I've been there, friend.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't just jump to 51 with an 18-year-old. You know, I have a 29-year-old down to an 18-year-old. I didn't just jump here. I went, everything that you're going through, I went through, you know. And so it's if nothing else, your family, keep your family strong within. And I love the fact that I love the fact that Nikki is a person, she like reached out to her family and she was like, listen, can we, you know, work together or whatever? And that helped her make a decision about what she could do.
That was amazing. That was a great thing to do, Nikki.
Yeah, it's just really, I mean, so everyone, like, just make your best judgment. And one of the things that I would also say that I'm hoping, because I did see Margaret, she started a new Instagram page. Margaret, I would say as fast as you can build that up, but also start talking about that more. And there's a lot you can do with it. You can ask me for my advice or not, but I always, when I see something, it's like there for me. There's so much you can do for that, even if it's just in a humorous way. But this is the time. This is why I had Wendy come on here as a parent. But look at all the knowledge she's already given you. If we could talk to all our friends just the way Wendy just talked to us, it would be so much lighter. Okay. There are so many people who, like, no one wants to, like, unless it's like our good friend Iris or me who homeschool on purpose. We're all new at this. Like, not me. This is the first time in 24 years, friends, I haven't had any child in school. It's such a way. Like, I get up in the morning, she's already doing classes. I come in my own office. I'm like, okay, I'll let you have my office for 3 hours, you know. Let's go get back in the bed. But that's how it's been. I'm like, oh, you were here this morning. I don't want to lay back down. But listen, when I was home, it was a little bit different because now we're virtual. But I was like, I can't do this by myself. So back then it was Craigslist, y'all. I put in, I was like, look, I need a homeschool. I need some friends. We need to have a mommy group or something. And that's how I found my tribe. And we were able to go to the playground. If it rained, we had each other's houses and things like that. It was so nice to have people. But what you're looking for, if it's not there, you have to build it yourself.
Yes.
You need support. The time is now. This thing is what it is. Let's identify that. But now start your own tribe. You know, our group is beautiful, but what you need is a group that somebody might have a son Devin's age, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for you. So you got to reach out, look for the Facebook groups, search for your tribe. If you can't find it, build it, and they will come. Believe me, we all need a tribe. That's how I found you.
You're living proof. That's right. Build it and they will come.
That's how I found you. I didn't know any of you before I started what I was doing. I didn't know a single person here.
Yep.
So just like I started, you can start. Somebody needs you. Believe me.
Yes.
Somebody needs you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Does anybody have any questions for Wendy? So Wendy, talk about some of the things before you go. If people give them time to think about some questions, what are you working on business wise?
I'm sewing. I did a dress today. It's being tie-dyed right now. It's cooking. It's a sweatshirt mini dress because I don't know why, but I just love those. I love making them.
Sometimes it only takes one product.
I know. I'm like, okay, I've sold 2 or 3 of them, but I've still got about 4 or 5. And I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't make any more because I need to sell some before I make them.
Like this top I have on.
And that is so pretty. I was telling Curtis, I said, look at that beautiful tie-dye shirt.
I bought this shirt. When we were going down to North Carolina, I had this skirt and I was like, I gotta stop at Walmart and see if I can find like a white top for this skirt. But because we had car trouble, some things we want to do like a date or and I had this cute little skirt and I was like, I just need a white top. Never wore the white top. So I was like, oh, I'm going to Jomar. Let me tie-dye this shirt and wear it to Jomar. And I just like it. I mean, that's what I love about tie-dye, right? You can be so creative. So you're doing these. So what was that thing inside you that spoke to you about making a sweatshirt dress? Like, did you wake up with a thought or did you see it and you thought, okay.
I saw a sweatshirt mini dress, and it was tie-dyed, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cute. I want one of those. And I started looking for sweatshirt mini dresses, and there aren't any out there unless, it wasn't exactly what I wanted. It just wasn't what I wanted. And I thought, you know what? I bet I can put 2 of these together and make one. And it was born. There it was. And so now I've decided that I make them as long as I can because everybody's a different height, right?
Yeah. And they got booties and hips and stuff too.
Yes, that's right. And so they can be cut off once they are purchased. You can cut it off at home because they're raw edge hem. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to keep them long, like 37 inches long on all of them. Cut it to the length you want it. So.
And right now is the perfect time. So if you do a few, I believe they'll sell because especially the way that you have been modeling them, which this is everybody in the comments, it's 11 people here. Let me tell you, you are your best marketer. Okay. Everything that you do right now is you're marketing for your business. I keep telling, look, I got on this shirt right here. When this video goes live, you know how many people will probably be DMing me? Like, I probably can't reproduce this exact shirt. I can say, I'm having a 60% sale in my tie-dye store right now.
Yep.
And you might find something that you like better than this. And plus, this is, you see, it's made for me, But anyway, so we are our best tool. Use what you have, people. It is free. You've made the clothes. You have items that maybe your set size. Stop being shy. Okay, come on. Right. Like, look.
Come on.
Let me tell you something. Look at this. Look at this beauty. Look at this.
Yes.
Look at this melanin. Okay. Somebody else would probably be like, I'm bald. I'm ugly. I used to cry to my dad about these lips. He's like, girl, let me tell you something. People are paying for your lips.
Yes, they are.
I understand that. But when you're 12 and you have these lips, it's a whole different thing, right? But now I'm like, girl, please, let me tell you something. The skin I'm in, it's nothing like it. And that's when you get 50, like Rhonda here, she know, right? When you get our age, it's on.
Right. That's right.
Look, let me tell you something. Okay. So you have to you're the best marketing tool. Like these earrings, that's all I used to do was handmade. I made my own earrings. Most of my jewelry I make myself. I just haven't been selling it like I used to. But if you have a skill set and you are selling, even if you're just reselling, and you have that jacket, like Nikki had on that cute pink jacket, Nikki, you better sell that jacket and stop keeping that stuff.
Seriously.
Look, it was cute on you. Take that picture, pop it into a Poshmark story, and let it go on to its new home.
Yep.
But we are our best. Stop worrying about, I don't want to model. I'm telling you right now, you got to get over that stuff. You want to make some money? Do the thing that you think that you cannot do.
That's right. Amen.
Wendy will tell you, because I'll start. Look, Wendy will post something, and I'll be like, "Ooh," but I'm like, I don't want to scare her today.
Go ahead, scare me.
So tell people about some of the stuff that I do to you, Wendy.
She'll say, "Okay, now it's time for you to do X, Y, Z," and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. Leslie's like, it's out there now. You have to do it, and I'm like, okay, if she thinks I can do it, I guess I can. And guess what? I can.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna leave you alone. No, that's not it. This is here. Excuse me, Lizette. So you want me to call you trouble, huh?
Yeah.
You know what? And this is the thing, and I love the fact that Lizette knows that. She knows how much I love her, because this is me. Even my husband. That's a whole nother story for another day with Thomas. I'm a pretty decent person. You know, sometimes we shouldn't toot our own horn, but we know who we are. And it's nice to kind of, in a sense, talk about ourselves. I'm pretty decent. I pretty love people. And I could take you or leave you. My thing is, when I'm talking to you, it's on. As soon as I stop talking, it's over. My ex-husband, I didn't talk to him for 7 months. I came to him and said, okay, I didn't raise all the money I need. We moving. Look, it's like that. So if I'm picking on you, that means I love you and I see who you are, even if you don't see yourself. And that's really what it is. That's see.
True. I can vouch for that. That's true.
It says, right, like I've just made this Instagram for fun.
Margaret, no, girl, that's not how it works right here.
Oh my God.
That's not how it works.
Margaret, oh seriously.
You know,
so this is what I should explain when you join my group.
That's right.
Look, I already got asthma, y'all. Wait, so yeah, I forgot to mention that when you joined the group that there were expectations of phenomenal growth that came along with it.
I remember when you started your podcast and you were asking for, you said if y'all have any ideas, let me know. And I think I messaged you with an idea and you said, oh, okay, well, that's going to be you then. You're going to talk about that. And I was like, you didn't say anything about that. Now, wait a minute. I was on the podcast after that.
So I say, be careful what you ask for, because you might get it. And yeah, like, Nikki, contacted me casually in February. She didn't know it would turn into like a love fest. She didn't know she would meet all these incredible people that would step out of her comfort zone and in front of the camera and going to do the budgeting thing.
That's right.
If I could just pull a little bit more out of Lizette, it'd be good to go. It's all behind the scenes. Lizette, she there. She know I love her. But seriously, I'm on Michelle too. So it's like that. That's okay. And see, I don't have to mess with Rhonda, because Rhonda doing her thing. Okay, she already doing brunch with Diva. So she like, look, I got it, but she's still gonna be on though. So next Tuesday, me and Miss Rhonda.
Oh, good. You're gonna be on brunch with Diva?
Yeah, but she already doing her thing. You said drink some water. Oh, I have my water right here. Yeah. That's just because I'm getting all excited.
Yeah.
Let's see. You see how we didn't turn it crazy? Michelle said, I'm listening. She said, for real, I always keep the stuff I need to list. Yes, especially when you're talking about that stuff you got from that the company. That's where my daughter shops. Go in her room. She got all kinds of stuff. Y'all better stop. Yes, I love you too. She said, Rhonda. And
I love the name of her live, Brunch with Diva. That is the coolest name, Rhonda. I don't know where you thought of that, but I love it. Yeah.
Quimby, you're actually doing really well. You're doing all these videos and everything, and now you're taking the little snippets, the segments, which is what I think people do or should be doing, because eventually Instagram is going to monetize. So you take a little bit from a video or create like a little snippet and make it an IGTV video. Even though TikTok is its own thing, the reason why Instagram is coming out with reels, because they seeing potential. They're not just seeing, videos. TikTok saw the potential, and now they're starting to monetize and offer creators money Instagram is well played because we already have platforms. So now, even if you only have 500 followers, you can create some reels and start building up. Where TikTok, you get on there and go, I have no idea what I need to do. I got to get all crazy. I love what Rosalind is doing.
I do too.
But we're all not going to have that sense. We don't all want to do that. Like me, I just want to show my packaging, or I want to sew just a little bit. That's why I like reels. I do have a TikTok, but I get way more engagement on reels, and that's because I already have the following.
Yes,
Where TikTok, as soon as I click on it, somebody dancing, and I'm just like, you know what? I don't want people have to weed through, and that's why I stayed away from YouTube. So for like people, when I suggest to you to work your way on IGTV, nothing wrong with YouTube, but YouTube is so big. You see how I'm like producing this content and I'm saying I only need 900 more to become monetized. It's such that fight where IGTV, if they monetize me now, I'll probably be making $1 million pennies. You know what I'm saying? So because I have 170 videos and the watch time is every single day, no matter what. You see, so it's just like you feel like you have to produce this content on YouTube. I just happen to have an idea of something that I want to do, but then I already have like people. But still, you don't want to have to fight for that. So that's why I say if you're going to develop a brand to grow, Instagram is the best place for you because you already have people. Like when people are celebrating, oh, I made 1,000. Okay, so now how are you going to take your 1,000 followers and develop a good brand for yourself? How are you going to start marketing? How are you going to start talking to the people? You don't have to do what I do. But if you want to grow, that's how you grow.
Yeah.
Mine is organic. One day I woke up and just said, you know what? I don't want to just keep showing people what I'm selling because it feels like I'm trying to sell to them. So I said, let me just start letting people know who I am. And that was organic. That was just me going, you know what? I want people to know who I am. I asked for that in the video. Yeah. So now I have to show up and produce what I was asking for. So that's what it comes down to. And I think that everybody can do that. So anybody have any more last questions? YouTube, yes. Like even Margaret just started YouTube. It is definitely a lot of work. It's you when you start it, I mean, it's well worth it because you've already started. And I'll just leave you with this. So I started YouTube in January 2019, but I felt it very overwhelming. So I stopped in about April of 2019 when my friend Nikki, who had just become my friend, said, Leslie, when are you going to start YouTube videos again? But when you're talking about divine intervention, right? It was exactly a year later. And that's when they were talking about shutdown. And I said, you know what? People are probably ready for some information as opposed to nothing against Hall. So I don't want anybody beat me up. But information, how can I grow my business now? Because my job probably about to let me go. There's probably a couple people probably grown just from me creating Pinterest video or a Facebook video. So I was like, now they're going to sit and watch, and my views went up. And back in April 2020, I had 130 subscribers. I am talking to you today with 1,074. Isn't that amazing? That's like 6 months.
That's huge.
I stopped and started again.
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw a couple things and then we're going to go. Can't you make the IG and also put it on YouTube? Sure, you can. You can definitely do that. The thing with the IG, it can only be between 1 minute and 15 minutes. This is the funny thing about how IG is really weird. When we do our lives, we can release our live as an IGT video, right? And it accepts it, and people can come back and watch the whole video. Like if Wendy and I were live on IG. But what I wanted to do the other day was, you know what? I didn't feel like because I wanted one of those front pictures and it's been acting weird. So I said, I'm going to save it on my phone. But if you try to come back and release it, you can't. It can only be up to 15 minutes long of regular video. So so they have their way of like figuring things out. So that live that I did on Sunday, I couldn't release it, and I don't want to break it in pieces and stuff. So from now on, just have your photo ready or whatever you want to have to go. And then the last thing I said, it says, Lizette, I think IGTV. You can actually do horizontal. You can do both now. You can do horizontal. If you look at mine, I do them vertical and horizontal. They're doing that because they're giving people more opportunity who in the past weren't changing their content. So they don't want you to have double content. So you can make a horizontal, because that's what I do. When I do a YouTube video, I purposely cut up my videos now. So I say, I don't go longer than 3 minutes so that it'll force you to come to YouTube. So I'll put the 3-minute video on IGTV and say, oh, if you want to see the rest, you have to go to YouTube. So it's horizontal because I don't want to do both.
Yeah.
And sometimes I forget. Like I have a lot of videos I'm supposed to be putting together of my inventory system. Some of it's going to be like this way, and some of it's going to be the other way. So
whatever works.
Yeah.
I'm just now learning how to do videos. So we'll see.
Don't get me started, Miss Wendy.
I know I shouldn't have.
If you don't want it done, don't tell me. I'm gonna tell you what
I did.
For the people in our group, don't ever type it in there if you don't want me to come back at you.
It's true. That she speaks truth, people.
If you don't want me to come back, because that's why I said to Diana, that's why I said to her yesterday, I'm not coming down on you, but that opened up a great conversation to have.
Yeah.
Because I want everybody to, Lizette, you crazy. I told her those evil eyes. She sent me this picture. I was like, oh, look at those evil eyes. But yes, if I don't know everything, and that's why I said to Diana, I'm not being mean. And at any time, you guys can come back at me. It's all about dialogue and conversation. We're all business owners. I'm a business owner.
Yep.
I don't work for Poshmark, though. So
no,
I'm not going to hold their hand, and I'm not going to hold yours. You have to fight for your business. I didn't realize I had my TV running the whole time. You have to fight for your business, especially with these cases. And the reason I only spoke up because so many people were like, let Poshmark handle it. Why are you letting Poshmark handle your business? They're getting paid either way, whether they reimburse the customer or they reimburse you. So why not fight for your product? One, I'd rather automatically 100% just have it come back to me. Okay. That way, because if you're going to fight, what's going to happen is, imagine this thing. It's happened to so many people. Poshmark, the customer has gotten irate at this point, especially if Poshmark is busy. Yeah. You haven't commented at all. You're waiting for Poshmark to handle it. The customer's coming back like, hello, you doing anything? She didn't go and cut all your stuff up. Mm-hmm. Poshmark says, oh, you can have it back. You get it. Your stuff is torn up now because she's got an attitude. She already started off with an attitude. There was probably nothing wrong with the product. She had buyer's remorse or something. So I'd rather just say, I'll take it back. I say that all the time. I never go back and forth. I say, Poshmark, please reimburse me. Please accept the return. I do it every single time because know why? I sold it once. I can sell it again. And then the awesome thing, because if Daniela was here, she would tell you, if an item, that item you probably let it go for a nice discount, you sell that sucker again at full price.
Yep.
So do not haggle with these customers. Do not let Poshmark handle your business. Handle your own business. You're renting. You rent from eBay. You rent from Poshmark. You rent from Etsy. The only thing you own is your own website. I pay $30 a month for both my websites. I can do whatever I want on both of them. That's $30 a month. They're not taking any fees, nothing. See, I got to work it a little bit harder, but Poshmark is not your friend. That's not being mean. They're business owners. They own a business. If 20,000 of us left today, it's not going to hurt them because 20,000 more are coming on every day. Yep. Okay. So work your business, run your business. You're getting paid. It's not a hobby. Okay. And then, as I said yesterday, let me get off my soapbox because it's just like, I just feel like when you do that, you're like literally going, okay, a case open. So the first thing you say, that's the same. Just imagine, take yourself out of the seller's position. You have an item that you no longer want and you're walking back to J. Crew. You want to return it. Why is it different when your customer wants to return it? We forget now that we're sellers and our backs go up and we get offended.
That's what happens is everybody feels attacked when they have a case. Yeah. And I will say this, knock on wood, I've never had a case opened in 3 years against me. There was one time I should have, and I would have gladly taken it back because I put the size wrong in the listing. And she decided not to open a case. But yes, I'm the same way. I would be like, just send it back to me. I'll sell it. I'll sell it on a different platform if it doesn't sell on this one, you know.
Because eBay, I don't care how you can put don't return.
You're gonna get it back.
So so my thing is like eBay don't care. They already got it figured out. You were like, oh, how do I handle this? My customer wants to return it. If you don't say yes, they're going to go to eBay, and eBay is going to be like, oh, now you've got a mark against you. I'd rather have a customer just, we've figured it out. So I want to tell you that, like I said yesterday, I've sold over 2,000. I don't know the exact number of items I've sold with less than 20 cases. My first case was a 1-star. My first, everything that I ever shipped out, threw the shoes in the box, sent them off. They were like horrible packaging. I was like, you know what? You're right. And from there on, like, what was I supposed to say? I threw some shoes in the box, no plastic, no thank you card, nothing.
But see, that was a learning experience.
It was my fault. Yeah. So it was like, so everything that I teach you, like, stop being offended. Anything that we do is customer service. You work in a hospital, it's customer service. You work in a school, it's customer service. It's just different customers. And the last thing I will say is I do not want to hear from anyone talking about another seller in any way at all. And what I mean by that is if I send you an offer for an item, I don't care if I'm a seller or not. I'm a customer that day. So stop talking about our sellers, our counterparts in such a negative light. Everybody wants a discount, because if that's the case, I never want to hear from anybody else again. Oh man, it was blue color today at Goodwill.
Yeah.
Oh, why you don't go to the counter and say, no, I don't want it for sale. I want it for the full price. So it's the same scenario. Okay.
Right. That's exactly right. And so it's their business the way they want to.
Quimby says, I have had 3 cases in 2+ years on Poshmark. Has been awesome. The refund, they refunded us both. And you do get those situations. I've had that. I've had where we've made mistakes, right? Where you sent the wrong package probably to somebody. And then you know how beautiful Poshmark is? Because eBay would get you. They would ding you if you send the wrong package. Poshmark just says, let me send each person a label, and they just send it to each other. And then everybody's happy. You know? So, okay, friends, I know I've talked a lot. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Or are you sticking your tongue out me? What's this here?
She's like this.
Oh my gosh. Yes, you're very welcome. I love when Leslie gets a little. My husband says the same thing. He calls me sexy though, Quimby. It says, and do not shout out buyers no matter how rude they are.
That's right.
Exactly. I can't stand that.
I agree.
That's the worst customer service, because also what people forget is that within the community, we are, if you've ever worked in like, corporate, about internal and external customers. We're internal and external customers. So at least 80% of everything I've sold on Etsy has come from a reseller. Like, they leave me messages. Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing. I would have missed this. Like Cynthia just bought that Frida Kahlo t-shirt. Lizette, I didn't know until I packaged it up that she bought a sweatshirt from me. So like, you don't know where your customers are coming from. So if you're bashing another customer, you're going to lose business, not realizing it, that you're losing business. And they're going to be talking about you, going like, no, don't go to her. Don't follow her. Girl, in their Facebook group, they're like, girl, guess what? So you don't know. People get so afraid. I'm not afraid to tell people about my business. I have my Instagram link in my Poshmark. You click on that's my website. You click on that link, it takes you to Instagram. Who cares? I don't know where my business is coming from. If we treat everyone with respect, then we shouldn't have to worry. And that's the other thing. My last thing that I'm going to say is, I don't know where my popularity comes from. Hopefully it's just because, I'm a foodie girl. No, seriously. It's just treating everybody with respect, being the best person that you can be, no matter what. If you show up the same way every single day, Patricia made a comment about that at my birthday, when you guys surprised me for my birthday. And that actually was like one of the best compliments that anybody can give me, because I want people to see me that way. The new people get all excited, and I'm pretty sure like Margaret and Michelle, like, oh my God, and I'm going to her group, but like, wow, she's more awesome than we thought that she was. Of course. But like, that's what it should be about. If you show up the same way, because in that way, you don't have to worry about a lie being told.
Right.
You don't have to worry about, okay, gosh, wait a minute, did I say that? If you show up organically, strategically, the same person every single day, then it's on. You have won everybody over just being you. People want to see that. Margaret had a bad day, Devin breaking down. Take a picture of that. If your husband is okay with you putting Devin on Instagram, mamas need to see that. So just be your truth. Sometimes I say, gosh, I wish I had a little kid that I could, if I had a puppy or somebody's little child right now, I'd probably be at 8,000 followers about now. You know, my girl Coco from Color, her little daughter is so cute. I'll be like, every time I see her, can I rent her for a couple hours? She's so adorable.
So cute.
Oh my gosh. So just show up every day and just be yourself. Don't worry about what else is doing. Don't worry whose packages look like that.
Yeah.
Just be you. And if you're you and you love you, that's all that matters.
And you said don't bash sellers or don't bash buyers. Let's just not bash anybody. That's my thinking on it. Let's just don't bash anybody because nobody needs that. We're all carrying a weight heavy enough as it is.
Oh my gosh. So that's Lizette is her statement is the best statement to end our conversation on. I always pay attention to other people, how people treat others, not only the way they treat me. And that's really important. Yeah. One thing I say, I am a stalker when it comes to people's pages.
Yep.
And it's more for me, it's like educational. That's what I look for people purposely that I want to grow from. People think it's the big sellers. I don't believe that. I think it's everyday people who are just starting, trying to figure it out. They may find something that I've been on the app for like 2 years and never even paid attention to. So it's that one thing every day that gives me that wow factor. Mm-hmm. But as I'm strolling some days, like we were saying, somebody's going to be mean. And I'm like, okay, that's a good person to unfollow today.
Yep.
Or the person, every word is the S, the F, every kind of cuss word. Oh, that's another person. I don't follow anybody that doesn't have a picture in their profile.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to keep that real, which I don't follow anybody who doesn't have a picture in their profile. And another person I don't like to follow, even though a lot of people are coming from their personal accounts, I don't like to follow people back that I have to request them.
Yeah, I don't follow.
I don't like private accounts.
I don't do it either.
Why are you private? You work for the government. Seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody sent me a DM, how nice she listens to my podcast and everything. She's not here. Not that it really makes a difference because that happens to me every single day. Somebody listens to my podcast and they're just thanking me or whatever. And so the way I want to know everybody's name, I want to try to make the best connection, and we'll go I go into their thing. There's no name because I want to respond back to them.
Yeah.
To let them know. And then I say, thank you. By the way, what's your name? Oh, this is my name, but I'm not using my name on my profile right now. That was the comment. So why? Who's looking for you?
Yeah.
You didn't you didn't create an account. Whoever wanted you would find you. That's my bottom line. No matter what, you are not a government agency. No one really cares. You're making it bigger than it really needs to be. Okay?
Yeah.
So hopefully everybody can join me Saturday. We're going to be on Facebook. We are just going to have fun. It's going to be bigger than our normal chat. Anybody who wants to come, it might be 100 people. It might be 10. You never know. We'll get a chance to meet new faces and have fun. I'm going to let other people talk because I do like to talk. I tell Lizette, I had to say to Lizette, I'm so sorry. She's like, Leslie, you're not taking over my coffee, my pot of coffee. I'm like, I feel like I'm talking all the time. She's like, no, you bring valuable information. But I have to sit there and go like, it's not mine. It's not your chat. It's not your chat. But on Saturday, I want people to come. It's going to be 11 a.m. I tried to do it so that we're not on all day. Some people did comment that it's too early. Sorry about that. If you can get up and make it, I don't care how you look. Maybe, it's not going to be just our group. So if we do want to spruce up just a little tiny bit, with our group, we can hang out in our robes and stuff. But so we do want to have fun and meet some people. Maybe we'll have some games or whatever. Let's see how big it is. You know how the first 45 minutes will be just everybody going around and introducing themselves because I want people to be seen and heard. And if I've never met you, then I'll highlight you. We can make connections if people live in the same place. But I want as many people to join us as possible. Yes, Market. Let's put some pants on. Not really. I could be sitting here with no pants on now, and you never know it. But yes, definitely.
I'm just saying.
Yoga points all day long, baby. The only thing I will say is I did say to Thomas, okay, I was talking to him. We were having like a little date night. And I said, okay, I got to go because I got to put a bra on and a shirt. So, I mean, I had a shirt on, but I had to put a bra on and a different shirt. So, we got to do, as long as you can't see, if you chilling back here, it doesn't matter. So we do want everybody to come on. We're just going to have fun. If you can't come, no big deal. Please, you don't have to tell me you can't make it. We're not doing roll call. Yeah. But I would love for people to come. It's just, we're probably tired of Zoom chats, but we want to have fun and spend time. I miss people. I just told Thomas that today. I miss people. And I hope I don't know what normal is.
I know, not anymore.
We're not normal people anyway, but I miss just being able to say I could get on a plane and go. Yeah. I don't want to sit on a plane with a mask. I was already hesitant to go downtown, go down North Carolina, and then I went to Jomar. I was like, it was such an opportunity, and I literally only took my mask off to take a picture. But a friend of mine, Valerie, called me out and was like, Leslie, how dare you? I'm so disappointed. If you go back to that post and see it, when I was taking the picture with Rachel, as you see in the video, the whole video, I'm muffled. You can't even hear me. I had the Charlie Brown teacher voice behind the mask. But like the whole time, and then when Rachel and I got together for photos, I took off the mask, and Emma, and then she literally called me out, and I left it there. She called me out on my post. I'm so disappointed in you. And the thing that bothered me the most is you're an influencer. I'm Leslie. and then Rachel came back and said, no, we had our masks on. She took off her mask to show her beautiful smile. But I was like, okay, wow.
Judge, that's what I want to say to
I'm
people.
already afraid anyway, but I was like, I'm here, I don't want to take a mask next to Rachel with my, take a picture with me. But I was like, wow, okay, that's deep. And she was just like, came back and said, once Rachel said that, she was like, yeah, but you still are already, effective, something she said. And I was like, okay, whatever. It stung me for a second because I know her in person, and I was like, wow, you called me out. Like, you're sending me a DM.
Thanks for the tip, Mom. So
I want to thank everyone for coming. I love everybody. Look, because we've been here an hour and a half.
I know, y'all are so good to stay with us. And
oh my gosh, it's like 13 people on here. Somebody just jumped off, but I thank you so much, my moderators. Thank you so much.
And Quimby,
you said, you know what, Lizette. You and Andrew can have those things going on, but we had some Boston market, okay?
That was the date.
Yeah. So, well, I don't know if he's watching us, but like Thomas, he's been like a little sad because September 21st will be the 3-year anniversary of his mother's death. So he was there with her by her side at the hospital when she passed. So he's been, and so I'm just trying to keep him, showing that the wife love is here, that I'm here, that I'm present the most that I can. I don't say a lot because both of my parents are still here in relative health. And so
you can tell and I understand because my mother's 1-year anniversary of her death was August 12th. So I know exactly when it is.
It's a hard deal. Yeah.
You just do your best to get through that day.
Yeah. So I'll definitely tell him that. Yeah, it's been a challenge, and I can see he going through. So I'm like, sweetie, let's that's like, so he's like, what you want for dinner? He said, I'm cooking. I'm like, you're cooking now. Can you give me a pot pie from Boston?
No, let's go to Boston Market.
Okay, ladies, thank you so much for hanging and chatting. I appreciate each and every one of you.
Too. It's so good.